My name's Brendan McDermott, and welcome along to the Digital Roast podcast. I think this is episode 2 of our cybersecurity and cyber resilience podcast, and fantastic. I've got a couple of people here today that will share their story around what it's actually like to go through a cyber incident and what that looks like and what we can learn from that experience. And to my right here, I have Lucy Hunt, who is the Managing Director of Remarkable Sweatshop here in Queenstown. Welcome.
Thank you, Brendan.
And to my left, Dan Messingham, who is the Branch Manager of Focus Technology Group here in Queenstown as well.
Hello.
Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
So I guess this is a story about cyber resilience, as I talked about. It's not about scaremongering, it's not about trying to put the fear into people. It's actually talking about what happens during an incident or an attack. And firstly, I want to thank you for being open and transparent around what actually happens, because I don't think there's enough people or businesses that actually will open themselves up and say, I'll put their hand up and said, I've had an incident and this is what happened. So firstly, thank you.
No problem, Brendan. Thanks for inviting me. It's an important subject.
And you're right, it is a really important subject, and it's something that is affecting or has the ability to affect every business. Can you talk about or take us back to the 9th of October last year? I actually happened to be here in the Focus office about that time because we were doing a training session. And I remember having the conversation with Dan and it all sort of coming to the fore. So can you take us back to the 9th and just tell us what happened?
Yeah, I had to do a bit of chasing back today, actually. I'd been on leave, and I think the Wednesday it occurred, it was my first day back at work. So the alarm bells were already ringing by the time I got to work. Our warehouse team, production team, they arrived at 7 a.m. So things had started to look wrong from the outset. I think Jamie, our warehouse manager, had switched on his PC and it had basically been wiped. There was a black box with some text on it. Wow. It didn't really give any useful information, but he went over to the production PC and he noticed some README files on that one. He opened those and there was the message from a Russian cyber attack hacking group who had left instructions, and it was clearly, and then Jamie still thought it was a bit of a joke and thought, we've been hacked by Russians.
Yep.
And I think contacted you at that point, Dan. And the only other PC that he ran up and checked was the admin PC, and that had a giant block warning, I think indicating that the system had been blocked. So he started realising that it was real. And fortunately, the 3 laptops of those of us that had the most access, we were all away from the office. We hadn't clicked into the network. So all of the privacy data, such as HR files and, accounts files hadn't been hacked into. Yeah. New Zealand obviously has some quite tight privacy obligation rules where you've got to notify affected parties within 72 hours. But I guess I'm leaping ahead a little bit because, of course, we notified Focus and soon after they said, hands off, don't touch anything else, at which point we contacted our insurers. Thankfully, we had cyber insurance, a very competent company called Emergence, who were fantastic to deal with.
Right.
I'm sure you'll agree, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely, they're right.
Yeah. So they took over the managing of the whole project from start to finish and engaged.
They took leadership, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can understand why, because things have to unroll in a way that ensures a quick and speedy recovery.
So from being away and then probably thinking, this is a joke,
Yeah.
to oh no, this, oh something.
Yeah.
This is not a joke. A whole range of emotions in that first, I don't know, 2-3 hours.
Well, it's sort of it's disbelief and that it's happening to you, but it quickly becomes a process. And you just do what you're told, basically, from our IT specialist focus to emergence, who then engaged forensics team to work out how and when they gained access and what, if anything, they'd exfiltrated. And the whole process was 2-3 weeks.
Yes.
We were having daily meetings with the whole team, focused Triskel and emergence, with updates of what they've discovered and what they'd found. And
I was surprised how structured that was.
yeah, sometimes there were 10 to 12 of us in each meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just going back to that first day, what did that mean for the business on the first day? I mean, did you stop trading?
Good question, because fortunately, our 3 shops, the POS systems hadn't been accessed, so we were able to focus, isolated the network, severed all connection to the network, and the shops were able to continue trading as if nothing had happened for the entire time. They were trading offline, so all of the transactions, of which there are many, all had to be caught up later, but they were able to just, the customer wouldn't have known anything was going on.
Right. Yeah.
From production point of view, it was a little bit more messy behind the scenes. We have to, obviously all the shops have to place orders using scanners, using the network, in order to get stock from our warehouse out to the shops 3 times a week. So all the shops had to put pen to paper. They wrote their orders, they took pictures and sent them through. There was a stack of paper that had to be entered later when everything was corrected. And the only other thing was, probably in production, we couldn't print labels, which come from EXO, which is the database as well. So Focus lent us a laptop and downloaded what we needed, so we could just print labels to put on our bags of lollies.
And I guess if I swung to you now, Dan, that first day, getting the phone call, I guess, is this real or not? What happens from a IT provider perspective when that phone call comes in? Take us through that.
Yeah, when that phone call comes in, it means all hands on deck once we realise the extent of the problem and fully understand. I mean, when the call originally came in, we felt it was just a network failure or something simple like that. It soon became apparent that it was more than that, and it was much more widespread, because the whole thing was down. So we, as a team, as we mentioned earlier, we had a planned event that morning, and that all had to be put on hold. And we pulled in the team of this office, and that was what was great about how we operate. The team all come together and, right, let's see who's going to do what. And for us, it's containment is the first thing, just to contain what's there and prevent any further spread. Because at this point, we don't know exactly where it's come from, what the source is, how legitimate it is, other than that it stopped it working. So that was our first protocol, is to get everything on your network switched off. I think we tried to do that with phone calls, and then we dispatched one of the techs out to help do that. In the back end here, we then touched base with all of our senior engineers and all pulled together, not just in this branch, but in other branches as well, to give advice on how to progress forward. And thankfully, you had your cyber insurance team on board reasonably quickly.
Yeah, within hours.
Yeah, within hours. And they were able to provide a bit of direction in how they wanted things to go as well, which was great. It was great that we had that direction. But yeah, it's a pretty mammoth task when we get these events. It means everybody has to pull together and stop what they're doing that moment. Of course, we've still got a business to run, but we have to work around that. Yeah, it's significant.
Yeah. And having seen the guys on that day, it's something that no one enjoys, is it? Like it's not a nice. I mean, it's not a nice thing as a business owner.
No, you feel violated. You know, it is like a violation. But at the same time, it's kind of surreal, because you feel like you're part of an espionage movie in a way. You know, it's kind of fascinating as well on the other side of it.
That's right. It's right. And we were the same. We feel it. We know that you as a customer is down and you can't service your customers to some extent. Thankfully, that wasn't quite as bad as that, but
it could have been really bad if we
worse.
weren't trading.
Yes.
It would have been.
That's right. So it was really containment and work out what we need to do from here. Once we got everybody off, we were engaging with the forensics team from the cybersecurity people, and they were able to and help us as we pushed out some security software, some of our security software, which you didn't have at the time, but that was paramount in giving them access to get on there and do some more deep forensics and try to understand what was going on and what was affected and what wasn't, alongside trying to get something working for the business.
Yeah, and our amazing team who are really good at thinking on their feet and just workarounds.
Yeah.
How can we keep going? How can we do this? And it's not always comfortable. It's not the easy option, but everyone just pulls together and you get through it.
I think that major, you mentioned earlier, the major one was the printing for the team back at the warehouse. We managed to pull some stuff together to get that working just within a couple of days, didn't we? To keep it operational, so you could get those products out to the shops. Yeah,
because without that, there'd be nothing going out to the shops.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
it seems like such a simple thing,
but
does. Something that, and had you had a chance prior to that to think about those sorts of things that could significantly impact the business like that?
Look, I think we've had years of it, haven't we?
I suppose COVID kind of gave us a wee bit of that too, didn't it?
I think we've become very good at thinking on our feet and adapting to tricky situations. And our team have been on the journey with us. So there's always moments where you have to just find a solution and get on with it.
Well, the other thing I found quite fascinating, and I guess I was on the periphery a little bit, but the insurance company, quite soon after investigating, knew exactly what group it was, Russian group of...
Well, they announced themselves actually on the warnings on the screen,
right.
And Jamie had Googled them
right.
and realised that they were the same Russian group that had taken down the London hospitals earlier in the year.
Okay.
So it was at that point that he clicked into, this is legit, this is actually real.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which was probably just before he spoke to you, perhaps.
Yeah, probably was before we'd spoken to them. And the forensics team, as you say, they did pick up on quite a bit of that as well. Their biggest concern, I think, at the time was the exfiltration of data, wasn't it? And how much had gone up to the unknown. And I don't think even to date we've never seen anything in those.
No, but we did get. We felt confident that none of the personnel data had been exfiltrated in terms of our own software. I think we were small fry. I think probably because Triskel kept an eye on the dark web to see if anything had been posted up in the dark web. And luckily, of course, we had everything backed up on the cloud, which is probably number one.
It was, absolutely.
Always back everything up to the cloud because we have a physical service. So if they'd taken the data and then ransomed us for it, I guess that's where people get into trouble. But with cloud backup, we were able to restore everything.
And Dan, just talking about, I think at the time, that the hackers actually, they'd been in the system for a while, hadn't they?
It appears that way. It's a few days or something. And we had cloud backups, and our biggest concern was how far, we didn't know at the time, but how far back had they managed to get in and penetrate your systems. So we were able to go back quite a few days. And we literally picked a point to restore the servers. We got those restored, and the forensics team jumped on, had a look at them to understand if they were clean or not. We'd isolated that away from the rest of the environment, so that they could look at it to see if there was any trace of their penetration within there. And thankfully there wasn't on that one, which was about 4 days earlier from memory, 5 days earlier, in fact it was.
Roughly 4 or 5,
And of course, data is not just on the service for you. You've got some data up in the cloud as well. We didn't know at the time if that was impacted or not. So one of our other backup tools backs up that data from the cloud, and we just restored all that as well. We didn't even bother going into the forensics of understanding whether it had been impacted. We didn't believe it had, but we just restored everything.
I think it's a really interesting point, because it's not as though people get in and then instantly they put something up on your screen. There actually could be in there.
That's the creepy violating part, is that you've got somebody spying. But they're not, because I don't think there's that hacker sitting over their computer watching you. It all seems very automated by bots, and it's completely random, and anyone can get hacked because they're constantly knocking on doors around the world. But
I think that's the thing about the cyber industry these days. It's not just a hacker in a garage with a hoodie on, looking at what you've got. These are really structured organisations, which will they have different departments, which everybody does their little bit. Whether it's the initial penetration, planting some malware, extrapolating the data, and then obviously trying to get some ransom out of you. These are all different departments. So they're pretty structured organisations today.
It's probably hitting thousands of businesses at any given moment.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat just last week. 61% of businesses in 2024 were hit with some sort of cyber incident. So it's a large number, and I think it will only increase, particularly with the likes of AI and other things happening in that space. And I guess that's why it's so important that the likes of yourself here today to share what is that experience, and shortly we'll talk about, I guess, what are some of those lessons, and what can small to medium businesses put in place to ensure that they keep themselves more resilient. I mean, I think you can't be completely secure, but what you can do is, I guess, layer some security and put some steps in place, like you did with insurance, to ensure that your risk, should you be attacked, is lessened. I guess it's a good chance now just to take a little bit of a break, and it is the digital roast. Lucy, what is your roast of choice?
My roast of choice is a strong black coffee, a short long black or a short black, and my favourite brand is Lafare Mighty.
Oh, nice.
Very deep, rich roast.
I'll try the Lafare. I usually go with the Gusto.
No, Mighty's much better.
What about you, Dan? Your roast of choice?
I do have a roast of choice, and unfortunately I don't drink coffee, so mine's Dilmah. That's following my heritage, I think, being English. So I like my Dilmah, and it's great.
Excellent. Well, people know it's the long black with a little bit of cream for me. So, and I was in Australia recently. There was no cream to be found anywhere, so it was quite hard 5 or 6 days.
I can imagine.
So following that, I guess, short break to talk about the roast here at the Digital Roast, thinking about going forward, what sort of advice would you have, or learnings did you get through that experience that you'd like to pass on to other people listening?
Well, for a start, I think it can happen to anybody at any time, so best to be prepared. Get yourself some cyber insurance. I don't believe that anything anybody did within our business caused this problem. It wasn't, nobody clicked on an email, or although that obviously does benefit businesses to have some training around phishing and spam emails. But multi-factor authentication, I think, is really important, and password protection. Just security tooling. We're still working through our list of recommendations, some of which don't make much sense to us, but Focus are also working on it. I think get insured, number one. Can't rate that highly enough. It's great to have an IT partner, but if you don't, at least have that insurance in place. It's not expensive for the benefit that you get out of it. And you do wonder how far you do have to go, especially having been through it. You'll be thinking,
yes, I need everything under the sun, but I mean, it's just cost prohibitive for a business, isn't it? So, as you say, insurance,
Yeah.
I guess ensuring you do have a good IT partner, ensuring you've got the fundamentals, whether it be an antivirus or endpoint detection or some of those sorts of things.
Yep, absolutely. And actually, cyber insurance doesn't have to be expensive. And we'd only just engaged Emergence. They were a brand new cyber provider for us. And so they exceeded our expectations in terms of what they provided. Yeah.
Dan, from your perspective, from a IT provider perspective,
Yes.
what should clients be thinking about? Because as we talked about that layering, and already mentioned about the cyber insurance, what else should they be thinking about in terms of that cyber resilience and protecting themselves?
It's as Lucy's said, and you've learned well. It's all about layers, and you mentioned that as well. So if you can make sure you've got a good partner, as you've just explained, making sure that they've got a good security software suite that will, and it's up to date. And we're not talking about the old antivirus that you used to have on your computer in the 1990s. The world's moved on, and make sure you've got something that's a bit more reactive and can look at behaviour and understand what's going on and react to that accordingly. You're better being safe than sorry. So those layers all help towards going to doing that. There's a bit of work that an IT provider can help you work through to segregate the network without getting too technical, but they can break it down so that if you are impacted like you guys were, it's only one area of the business rather than the whole thing. So that's another thing we can do. And staff training, just on the basics of opening emails with a link in, understanding how that looks, and whether that looks suspicious or not. Policies and procedures within the business can always be tightened up. It's probably a never-ending job for any business, but they can always be tightened up and review it regularly.
Yeah.
So at least once a year, make sure that you can go through that and it still looks valid, because the landscape's changing quite rapidly.
Is it important for businesses to perhaps get an audit or even though their IT provider's been in there helping them, is it still important they just do a bit of a review?
Absolutely. And every 12 months you should do some form of review, and I think you'll find that a lot of the cyber insurance providers ask that these days. Do you actually get a review? Whether that's with your existing IT provider or even an external party can sometimes be beneficial, because it just picks up on those small things that maybe get missed. And as a business, how the business evolves as well, you bring in new tools along the way, new pieces of software, and you've done that since you did your last review. You can pick up on that. We haven't caught that. If we lost this, then we wouldn't be able to do that piece of work. So,
And even just regulating what your staff are able to download onto their PCs and laptops as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In the last year, we had things like, we're all starting to use AI more too. So even the risk of using AI and what that means for our data also.
Yeah, and it's really hard to actually make the time to write these policies. But AI is great at doing that. So, But yeah, it is hard to make the time in your day-to-day business. But you do have to make the time. And
You do, and that's an audit, and it's a DR test for yourself, just the business.
Disaster recovery.
Disaster recovery.
Test,
That's right. Sorry, too technical. That helps the business, give them confidence that they can recover should they need to. So,
Have your staff been since the incident? I mean, have you found they're more aware?
yeah, I think everyone's more aware. I think we're pretty good at communicating amongst ourselves. If there is a email of suspicion, and these guys at Focus are really good as well. We sometimes forward things on just to say yes or no.
It's worth doing that.
Yeah.
Worth checking just to see if it's okay.
Yeah.
I think the days of people not wanting to say anything because they might have been fooled.
Better to check than to click.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It should be an open conversation within the business.
Yeah.
Sure. Worth it.
I think what we've certainly heard today is a story of resilience, a story that how important it is to have a few things in place, particularly that cyber insurance having a partner that you can get on the end of the phone and say, look, something's happened, or could you check this for me, has come through really strongly. Again, I do want to applaud you for having the courage to come and actually share your story, because a lot of businesses don't do that. And I think to sweep it, to hide it behind closed doors and just move on like nothing happened is the wrong approach. I think we all need to be educated more on cyber's a real threat, and we all need to be aware of what really goes on. And the more we can learn and collaborate, hopefully we can make it better for every business going forward. So again, thank you for being here for the Digital Roast session or series 2. We're going to continue this series over the next couple of weeks on cyber resiliency. I think next week we talk to Rowan Anderson, who is our Service Delivery Manager here at Focus Technology Group. He'll give us a bit more insight into some of those things we talked about: antivirus, endpoint detection, managed detection, lots of different words that we should start to be more familiar with within our businesses. So until next time, thanks for listening. This is the Digital Roast Podcast.